Hey guys, Eric Hobbs here, Under the Arch Sports, talking Mizzou football. They're winning Saturday 45-3 over UMass. Before we get into it, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Facebook, Instagram, X, and Spotify. Find us on all those to follow. All right. You know, this was a game that you hoped would never really be in doubt. There were about maybe 5 minutes of game time where you were like, wait a minute. But it was already 21 nothing. And I don't think had A&M gone so badly, people would have been as concerned. We'll talk about it. But by and large, this was exactly what you hoped for and what you expected. Uh, and there's a lot of different things to look at here. I think what most people were looking at was Brady Cook. He was better, certainly, and he was good without being great. First, lack of deep shots. You got to consider the wind. 20, 30 mile an hour winds going to affect a deep ball. It's in the air long enough, it's going to affect it. You saw that on kickoffs. Uh, there were no deep shots in the first quarter or the fourth quarter because Missouri was going straight into the wind. The fourth quarter, or excuse me, second, third quarter is really where you want to look at Cook's game throwing the ball. The first home run ball was overthrown by kind of the typical Brady Cook distance. It was with the wind, so maybe it was a good ball where he just didn't account for the wind. I don't know. It's hard to say, but it was kind of the same. That you look at the offside that UMass had that turned into a free play where Cook hit Theo Weiss down the left sideline. He hit him over the left shoulder perfectly for a 25-yard gain or whatever it was. A good ball. A great ball would have been to his right shoulder. Weiss is able to stay in bounds. He's gone for a touchdown. So that's what I'm saying with good, not great. Good, not great. Also, on a slant route, Cook hit Luther Burden in the hands. The not great part was his hands were outstretched over his head on a slant route. And he was left in a position to where he was totally exposed, got rocked, left the game with a shoulder injury. Let's make no mistake. I think as soon as Luther Burden went down in that position, that part of the game, he was done. You don't need Luther Burden to beat UMass, or you got real big problems. So as soon as he went down, I think he was done no matter what. As far as how severe the injury is, tough to say with a shoulder. It was the opposite shoulder of that actually got kind of driven into the ground. I might have it backwards. I think it was his left shoulder went into the ground and his right shoulder is what was hurt. I might have it backwards, but either way, the opposite. So I was thinking broken collarbone or something on what went into the ground, but it was the other one. And it's tough to say. Could have been a stinger, could dislocate, come right back separate. I don't know. So that's one in the interview at the end of the third quarter. Drink said, "Oh, he'll be fine." He was not as firm in the post game interview, the presser, where he just kind of said, "Yeah, we'll find out on Wednesday." Basically, I'm not telling you. What's encouraging is Burden never went to the locker room, for further evaluation. I don't know what resources UMass would have had if they even would have had X-rays or anything like that on site. Who knows? Uh, my gut tells me he'll be all right, but that's just my gut. You look at these injuries, and it's interesting. I think some of it has to do with the opponent. Out of nowhere, Nate Noel just didn't play, and we only found out at halftime that his back tightened up in the pregame. And I guess that makes sense. We're only going to find out in the halftime interview if it happened during the pregame warmups. His back tightened up. So, all right. Sounds like something where he would have maybe been able to go against a stiffer opponent. We'll see. Pun not intended. Joe Moore and Tristan Newson did not play. No idea what happened. No clue. That's frustrating for fans, especially fans who donate to the program to not even know, you know, what players are going to play. Um, but that's a whole nother discussion. And then Khalil Jacobs left the game with a shoulder injury. So again, we're going to have to wait until the injury report to find out about all that. Defense, pretty good. Less than 250 yards. UMass couldn't do anything consistently. The only weakness was the secondary, and that's just part of who Missouri is. You lose two NFL corners, you're going to see a drop off, and that's what Missouri has. Dre Norwood is solid, but is susceptible to getting beat on RPOs, double moves type things. Toriano Pride might be in danger of losing his job to Nick DeLoach. We've kind of seen that coming for a while though, because he'll just straight up get beat down the field, just burned. And that's something where I think that's happening. That's my guess. Missouri has to find a way to make life easier on its corners, whether that's blitzing, whether that's a DN just stepping up. They have to make sure that the quarterback is getting pressured so that they're running around, not comfortable in the pocket, having 5 or 6 seconds to carve up Missouri secondary because Missouri secondary is easy to carve up if you give them any sort of time. And that's just the long and short of Missouri's defense. That's really all what it is. That's all there is to it. You saw Nick Rodriguez step in with the injuries and the garbage time, and he looked great. 9 tackles, led the team. Be curious to see if he gets more run at backer. I'd like to see it personally. Aside from that, Missouri got up 21-0, and then they eased off. They really did. It seemed evident to me. And part of that is UMass suddenly like, all right, we're down a lot. We got to throw. And well, that's Missouri's biggest weakness is the secondary, in my opinion. So a little bit of a problem there for Missouri just in scheme problems. And they weren't terrible, but they gave up some big plays. And then the coaching staff just did not have the guys ready for a 4th and 1. It was a good call, an aggressive call, but the problem is that they were just totally not prepared for it and it went for 39 yards or whatever it was. A championship type team senses, all right, we're up 21-0. We're in business, but this thing's not over. And a championship type team does not really ease up till they're up 35, 38, 42 points. You know, if that stretch of play kind of towards the end of the second quarter happens when it's a 5 touchdown game or more, it's a lot easier to understand. I also don't think it was as big of a thing as Missouri fans seem to make out of it. A lot of that was residual anger and frustration left over from the A&M game. They went down and got a field goal and they got a fake punt. And yeah, if they got a touchdown, it'd have been interesting to see how the teams would have responded. But Missouri made a play, picked the ball off, ran it back 80 yards, got a field goal out of it, and the game was over. So, blame the defense for the field goal, the fake punt, giving up chunk plays. You have to give them credit for making a huge play that ended the game. Lots of guys played in this game and it was good all over the place. We talked about some of it. Josh Manning at wide receiver, I think, needs to play more. Maybe as the third receiver. It may not be his natural position to take Mookie Cooper's spot, but I think he ought to play there. I think Missouri's best three receivers may be Bird and Theo Weiss and Manning. I think I think it's dangerous. Then you can get Speedy Johnson back out there when you want to try a home run ball, or at least make the opponent think about a home run ball. All in all, Missouri's 5-1. Homecoming game against Auburn with a chance to move to 6-1. And frankly, season's half over. And if you told somebody back in August, hey, they're going to be 5-1, they lost at A&M, no one's going to be that surprised. So in that sense, yeah, Missouri is roughly where a lot of people thought they'd be. Not the exact way, that's for sure. But 5-1 right here surprised nobody back in August. So keep that in mind. We're going to keep you guys covered with everything as the season continues. Homecoming against Auburn coming up. They've opened up as a 7.5 point favorite, I saw somewhere. And we'll talk about that if we think that line is good and what we think will happen there. Until then, keep tuned here to Under the Arch Sports. Thanks for watching.